My name is Bill Geise. I'm with Tile Council of North America, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about why tile is the greenest option. And so if you've been walking around the show and you have not seen the whytile.com logo by now, you've probably been walking with your head down and haven't been aware of your surroundings. So I'm sure you know that we are heavily expressing and educating on the benefits of tile, and what I would like to do today is to talk to you a little bit about another why tile tenet, one of our key messaging points, and that is tile is the greenest option, especially when we compare against other flooring types in this sector, particularly vinyl. And so today I want to hit especially on the environmentally friendly aspects of tile, and I want to start with just showing you a snapshot of this slogan we've been using for quite a few years now at Tile Council. It's called Tile is the Natural Choice, and we truly mean that in a lot of ways. It's very much a product that is inspired by nature, is very much related to nature. It's made of naturally occurring ingredients, but also it's natural in that it's one of the most sustainable and environmentally friendly products out there. So not only is it healthy, it's environmentally responsible. And to talk about the environmental responsibility, not just of the product, but of the industry, you need to keep in mind two very key things. And that is that when we're specifying tile for green building, the trend today in North America has taken on the theme of performance and transparency. What does that mean? Performance related to the way of it literally, how does the product perform? Is it a sustainable product? Does it meet certain thresholds? Does it have certain certifications? And transparency in the aspect of are manufacturers being honest in what they're communicating about their products? So how transparent is the industry? How transparent are the suppliers of products? So those are the two things I'm going to follow throughout my talk. We're going to talk the first half about performance, the second about transparency. So what does performance mean? Well, just what it sounds. Performance means that there are significant aspects of the product where it performs on the environmental front. Looking at things like what is the product made of? Does it perform in that it's environmentally responsible just by virtue of what it's made of, and versus are they naturally occurring ingredients, or are they synthetic, or is it loaded with chemicals? Of course, tile is made from naturally abundant materials. Inertness, the product itself, does it off-gas after it's been manufactured, or is it inert? Tile, of course, is an inorganic product, has been fired at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not organic, therefore there's nothing volatile about it. No VOCs can be emitted into the air we breathe. Material management, does it perform based on what it's made out of? What kinds of recycled content are going on? What are manufacturers doing to incorporate responsible material management practices in their operations? Then, of course, I'm not going to touch on it too much, but there is the human health and well-being aspect of it. I'm sure you've heard about it in some of the other Quickfires. The energy efficiency angle, what benefits does the product itself bring to the built environment, and history and longevity. And of course, all of these are inherent from a performance standpoint when it comes to tile, especially the history and longevity. It's a very prideful industry. We celebrate the rich history and the heritage of tile. From beautiful installations thousands of years ago to the beautiful installations that are going into today. The key to sustainability is something that's going to last a long, long time, and the key to something lasting a long, long time is it being something that you want to keep for a long, long time. So certainly tile is installed with a certain expectation in mind that this is what you're aiming for. This is the look that you're going to be able to celebrate for generations to come. So that's something to remember about the industry. But how do we talk about that in terms of specifying when really the rubber hits the road? Performance is great. We can brag about our messaging all day long, but at some point you got to spec it. And so it's not unlike any other aspect of our industry where we have to spec performance. When it comes to environmental performance, we have to have a standard, and usually we have to have a certification program. For us in the tile industry, that's called Green Squared. Green Squared is the North American tile industry's sustainability standard and certification program for sustainable ceramic tile and related installation materials. It's a program and a standard that covers 5 different products in one. So it's like 5 different standards in one. And why that's valuable is sustainability is vast. It's very subjective. There's a lot of different things that people may spin on the subject of sustainability. But what's important is that products that are related, not just tile, all of the stuff that goes into setting and installing tile, you really need to standardize those under the same umbrella of sustainability principles. You don't want the grout manufacturer going to one industry's program, tile using one industry's program, substrates and so forth. So Green Squared covers tiles, powder installation products, paste installation products, as well as sheet like your membranes and panel products like your backer boards. And it's a multi-attribute sustainability standard. ANSI A138.1 doesn't just cover recycled content, doesn't just cover VOCs, doesn't just cover energy efficiency, it covers all of those and so much more. It's what we call a multi-attribute standard addressing all aspects of sustainability across the full life cycle of the product. So clearly there's a lot of work that has gone into establishing this standard. The industry has collaborated on this. It's the only it's the only standard in the world, multi-attribute standard and certification program developed specifically for tile. You need to visit to find out more the Green Squared Certified website, greensquaredcertified.com, where you can find a lot of information about how the program criteria were established, how the program is used, and also some more just general good education. But the beauty of going to this, it really is a good experience. If you're a manufacturer, you'll learn how to get your product certified. If you're a specifier, you'll really dig into the details of the spec language. Where is the Green Squared standard spec'd in the LEED Green Building Program, federal procurement regulations. Also, you'll be able to go and look at how the building code recognizes Green Squared. Then for purchasers, you'll learn where to find Green Squared products, because what we're excited to announce is we just developed a whole new purchasing platform. So not only do we have a standard and certification program as an industry, we have a centralized library where purchasers can directly go to find certified products and all of the documentation they need to specify those products, all at greensquaredcertified.com. So we talk about connecting purchasers, and this is very important because this is the trend, not just for sustainability, but for really product purchasing in general. For years and years and years, we focus on education, on developing good standards, on marketing and advertising, and making sure people can find the right standards and the right products, find the right standards, understand the right criteria so that they can find the right products, and then they go shopping around. That's all still important. We still need to be pushing that messaging, but the purchasers really are finding products in a different way today. It's like the Amazon of building. That's really how designers and purchasers are arriving at the products they specify, because they're going to a page and learning about what's required of that building, and they want to find the product right then and there. And so that's the step we've taken with our centralized library on our Green Squared site. And by doing that, that data is automatically syndicated into other purchasing platforms through whether it's full-on sustainability product libraries or whether it's a partnership with our vendor with proprietary purchasing organizations to develop their own product-specific libraries. This is the future. This is how people are going to find products in the future. It's all online. It's all syndicating data and making sure the right products that meet the right standards are in all of the databases. Because let's face it, people are getting lazier and lazier and lazier. They want not only to know what the criteria are, but they want to be able to find the products right then and there. So that's what we're working on. Not just with sustainability, but we're thinking about overall from a standards compliance perspective. So I touched on syndication, but just to give you an example, about a year and a half ago, the EPA came out with its recommendation to all federal purchasers. So there's no bigger purchasing organization in the U.S. than the GSA. GSA has, I think the figure I last heard was 680 commercial construction projects at any given time, 680,000. That's a whole lot of buildings being built. That's a whole lot of product being moved. So the federal government has said all federal projects that pursue sustainability-minded goals, they've recommended that Green Squared be used for all of the tile products. That's great, but unless we are in the GSA's product proprietary purchasing library, it's going to be tough for people to find those products. So by forming our centralized library, we've automatically syndicated that data with GSA's proprietary platform called the SF tool. So now government purchasers don't have to look beyond the government websites to find those products. They're already embedded in their libraries so they can make informed decisions. Again, just a real-life example of how people are finding products. They're not doing a lot of research and visiting the manufacturers for specification compliance. They're actually going straight to the tools within their own proprietary product libraries. And you're seeing this with architectural firms. You're seeing this with interior designers. You're seeing this with big purchasing organizations such as Walmart, Target, Amazon, Google. They're all building a lot of buildings, and they're all finding products in this way. So just something to dig into deeper. I encourage you to visit the Green Squared Certified website and just see it for yourself. how the products are listed there, and still to come in those product listings are a whole lot of additional tools where literally the purchaser and the architect and the specifier can put together one package of all of the spec sheets they need for any given product to satisfy any green project in the future. We have a neat little cartoon, is also on the website again. It's a complex subject, so if you want to just take a 2-minute review of our video just on what Green Squared is and how it works, I encourage you to go to the site and download the video. Now, I would be remiss to talk about sustainability standardized performance without also talking about the international stage. Much like we have our Green Squared standard, in development there's an ISO standard for sustainable tile products. In fact, the US is collaborating very closely with the ISO committee, and we're working together to make sure there's harmonization in how we're standardizing criteria. So don't be surprised in the pipeline if you see later down the road that there's something similar on the international stage. More to come on that in a couple of years. Now, so that's all about performance. Now I'm going to switch gears and talk about transparency. What is transparency? Well, think about it like food. When you buy food, all food products today, in the US anyway, and in most parts of the world, have what's called a nutrition facts section on the packaging. Is that a standard for what that food has to meet from a nutrition angle? No, it's not a performance standard, it's a transparency standard. Their only standard is how that information is presented so that the end user can make an informed decision. That's the same way building products are being specified for sustainability on the transparency front. And the reason that's so important is because the way buildings are being designed and modeled, building information modeling is the next big thing in design. You can literally go into a CAD drawing of a product, of a building, pick any surface at any time and draw all of the environmental data of that product. That's why it's so critical that we as an industry continue to provide this data so that architects and designers have the information they need to make life cycle based product choices. So I'm going to dig into that a little bit more. What does this mean? Our standardized nutrition label, if you will, is what's called an environmental product declaration, EPD. This means that we report the environmental footprint of tile across 6 major impact categories. And when we provide that information, again, we're not setting certain thresholds, we're just providing it in a standardized, consistent framework so that end users can make informed decisions. You can have an EPD at a product-specific level, or you can get a lot of products across an industry and take an average and just give an industry-level report on kind of here's a basic snapshot of what tile looks like on average. And that's what we've done at Tile Council of North America. We have 3 industry-wide EPDs, one for tile and one for mortar and grout. So we have tile covered and also the main material, the majority of the installation materials used to cover tile. And so just to give you a little bit of a snapshot into why this information is so handy, because we have EPDs for our tile products and our grout products and our mortar products, we can now take those average environmental numbers and compare them to other industries that have developed average environmental numbers. So something like carbon footprint. You probably have heard people talk about what's the carbon footprint of this, what's the carbon footprint of that. Now we have that answer. Somebody says, what's the carbon footprint of tile? We can say 15 kilograms per meter squared based on our industry-wide report. What does that mean? Well, take it for what it's worth, but if you're comparing to other industries, it's the lowest carbon footprint compared to vinyl, compared to carpet, compared to other competitive surfaces across a 60-year lifespan of a building. So when we present it in this way, yeah, it's not a performance threshold, but it becomes a kind of performance way of evaluating products when you compare one product to the other. It's pretty powerful. And just to go through the other impact categories briefly, so let's say carbon footprints like our sodium. Then we can look at saturated fat. Then we can look at, I don't know, whatever else is interesting to us, calories. It's the same kind of concept. So in the case of smog formation potential, again, this common theme is tile, which is the front bar, the green one at the very front. It's the lowest compared to competitive surface coverings. Same thing with ozone depletion. How much does tile impact the ozone that's being depleted in the atmosphere? It's the lowest, the second to last on the back. It's the lowest compared to others. Same thing with acidification potential. Same thing with eutrophication. What eutrophication means over excessive presence of nutrients in an ecosystem, which is actually a bad thing because fish, and if you look at a water stream, when fish and other wildlife in the water start to compete with plants for oxygen. So if you have too many nutrients, that's a bad thing. Good news is tile's on the front, leading edge at the very bottom compared to others. And the final impact category in our EPD is resource depletion. This means how much stuff do we take out of the earth that can never be put back? Because we're made out of earth materials, you think this number would be high until you start looking at the metrics. Resource depletion on the fossil scale compared to petroleum-based products, it's the lowest. So there is a lot to be said that you would never really get until you go through this process and start comparing EPDs. Again, I'm a little geeked up about this because this is what I do for a living, but I do think it is pretty powerful. And again, I would also be remiss here if not to mention that on the international stage, there are a few EPDs as well. The Spanish ceramic tile sector is in the process of creating an industry-wide EPD, just like we've done in North America, as is the Italian manufacturers. They have an industry-wide EPD. The Italian one is available for download at ytile.com, as are the North American ones, and the Spanish one will be there once they're completed with the project. So we have both angles covered. How do you specify tile on the environmental front? How do you specify tile in a green building? You have performance, you have certified transparency. It's really that simple. Sustainability is a very complex subject, so we try to make it as simplified as possible to where you either meet the standard for performance or you provide all of the standardized reporting framework, or if you have both, you have all your bases covered for what a specifier may require. Just to give you evidence of this in real practice, LEED, which a lot of people still talk about as kind of the environmental leader, no pun intended, in designing buildings. To get LEED points, tile can contribute in two major ways, either through certified performance, because LEED gives points for the use of green squared certified products, or through certified transparency, because LEED gives points for the use of certified EPDs. Good news is the industry has both bases covered. Green Globes for new construction, which is basically kind of like LEED. It's the same thing, just a competitive program, a rating system and certification for sustainable buildings. They do the same thing. They provide points if a minimum percentage of products have EPDs, and points if a minimum percentage of products have certifications like Green Squared. At the building code level, and this is where we're really starting to see evidence that sustainable construction is not just marketable anymore. It's still marketable, but it's becoming less the market craze that it was, say, 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's just ingrained in the way we're doing things. And a lot of this is because it's been codified into law. The International Green Construction Code, which is a model framework, has started to be adopted by more municipalities to where literally it is the law that you design buildings in a sustainable fashion. And those laws are now referencing the use of tile that is Green Squared certified and or has an EPD, which we both do. Also on the building code front, some of you may have heard of ASHRAE, which is the American Society for Heating, Refrigeration, etc. They also are in the building code world as well, are very well known and often used as an alternative path to adopting building codes for municipalities. Again, it's the same theme. I'm showing you all of these to illustrate that it's not just us saying performance plus transparency. This is the way that the green building world is trending with both of these tools. So that's where we stand now. Green Squared and EPDs are both recognized in the ASHRAE standard as well. And finally, the National Green Building Standard, NAHB. It's not just commercial, it's on the residential side too. The ICC 700, which is the National Green Building Standard developed by the National Association of Home Builders, gives points for performance and transparency just like the others do on the commercial side. And I talked about the EPA recommendation in the previous performance talk, but just to reiterate that this is widespread. It's just not in the voluntary private sector anymore. It's made its way to the federal government to where the Department of Energy, the Department of Defense, the GSA, and the EPA are all using this performance plus transparency in their product procurement strategy. So we like to say that, or we like to think that we're in pretty good shape as an industry. When we talk about sustainability and environmental responsibility, we do have a sustained presence and leadership in the green building world because we have taken the initiative to provide more tools than any other industry, really, on the flooring side, to allow designers, purchasers, specifiers to find the right products for the right application when it comes to green building, performance and transparency. So I'm going to end by saying, tile, we believe, is part of our why tile messaging. The environmental side is a very, very big tenet, and it's something to not be forgotten. We can talk about the beauty, the longevity, the durability, the healthiness. All of those are important, but just as important is the environmental side. So we do believe tile is the greenest option. So now it's time to go tell the world. And that's why we believe whytile.com is such a great vehicle to get a lot of this information out there.